Hi, I'm Carrie Samuels, your intuitive counselor and happiness coach, and we are talking all about Mercury retrograde. This is the transit known for mischief, mayhem, all kinds of madness, and it's actually a time when you can have productivity and positive energy and peace and tranquility. It can be a really, really magical time if you know how to navigate it, and that's what I'm going to help you with right now. So if you're going with the flow of the energy of Mercury retrograde, it's incredible. And if you're forcing against it, then that's when all those crazy things happen. So I'm going to help you really, really navigate this. And it's really important to know the do's and the don'ts. It's not to say you can't do certain things, but the suggested do's and don'ts. So it actually feels like Mercury is retrograde at random times, and it's just random, right? So here's the thing, it's not random. Like everything in the universe, there's a divine timing to this, and it happens every 88 days for 3 weeks at a time. So it's 3 to 4 times a year, and it's really best if you put it on your calendar so that you know how to plan for it. And I actually have dates for you for Mercury retrograde in my guide below that you can access for free. And that way you can put it on your calendar and you know to plan for it. So with that said, here is how you plan for Mercury retrograde. So Mercury, first of all, let's talk about what it is and why it happens, okay? So Mercury is the fastest moving planet in the zodiac. It's like a little speed racer, right? So Mercury's zipping around the solar system, and every 88 days, when Mercury goes retrograde, from the Earth's perspective, it appears to be moving backwards. It's really not moving backwards. It's really just like when one car is going past another, the other car looks as if it's moving backwards. So that's the retrograde. But because this is a fast-moving planet, and because Mercury in astrology governs your mind, how you communicate, all kinds of comings and goings, as well as methods that we use to communicate and transportation. So when Mercury is retrograde and in that backward seeming motion, this is a time for you to go back and retrace your steps, to go back and retrace aspects of your mind that you have overlooked. Because if you think about it, what you perceive in your day-to-day conscious life is really a very, very small portion of all the intuitive information that you're receiving. And think about this as well. How many times do you say to yourself, I'll get to that later, I'll deal with this another time, I'll look at this later, oh, I don't have time to figure that out right now. Well, these Mercury retrograde cycles are the perfect time to go back and collect those pieces of information and deal with those projects that you keep sweeping under the rug. And we all do it, right? So this is the perfect time. And that's when the trickster energy happens. When we keep wanting to move forward, we keep wanting to race ahead and go about with our intentions or what we think our intentions are. When the universe is trying to get you to go back and collect yourself, and maybe the ways you communicate and the means in which you communicate, including your computers or even electronics or appliances or your car, isn't functioning at its best, okay? And maybe there's things that you missed. There's things that you need to pick up on. There are pieces of intuitive information that you are overlooking that are very important for you to recognize, and so that you can reassess your intentions, so that after Mercury goes direct again, when you're moving forward at that fast pace, you can do it in a way that you have a brand new perspective, or at least a revised perspective with information that is very important that you would have missed. It's kind of like the universe's way of saying, easy now, speed racer. You need to chillax. You need to take some time out. and refuel. And you'll notice there's a lot of RE words when Mercury retrograde is happening. So those are the ones to focus on. So there are some general rules, suggestions. I wouldn't call them rules. They're really suggestions because they're here to help you. Again, this is about going with the flow of energy. And when you are rushing and when you're moving ahead, it's really important that you're paying attention with these guidelines, okay? Because what happens during Mercury retrograde is that your mind is changing. So that's why we apply these guidelines, because after Mercury retrograde, your mind is going to be different. There's going to be different information in there. So one of the things you may have heard actually to not do during Mercury retrograde is sign contracts. Now, why is that? It's again because you're changing your mind and you don't necessarily want to commit to someone or something when Mercury is retrograde, because typically afterwards, when it goes direct, there's a do-over. It's like things can get missed, things can get overlooked. So if you do have to sign a contract during Mercury retrograde, really it's recommended if you get someone to look at it for you, to look at other details, to catch things that you might miss, and really make sure that you're reading this thoroughly. And you know, don't be afraid if you have to sign a contract. Just know that there may be some do-overs. Now, again, in terms of buying electronics, that's also not recommended. First, we're talking about what's not recommended. So buying large appliances or cars or making large purchases. Now, why is that? Again, because you're going to be changing your mind, most likely. So you don't want to commit to something that you may realize afterwards you want something different. For instance, let's say you purchase a 15-inch computer and then you realize afterwards, you know, this thing's too big. I want something lighter. I want something smaller. I want something more portable, or maybe vice versa. It's that kind of thing. So if you do make a large purchase or something like that, make sure that you have some kind of return option for it, or you're buying a warranty. So if you change your mind later or something goes wrong with it, you have some kind of safety precaution, because you actually might need to buy something while Mercury's retrograde because things break. So the reason that things break during Mercury retrograde, often, it's not like a random thing. Again, nothing's random. It's one of those things that it's like if something was already not like on a proper foundation, or there was something amiss with it, or there was something not stable about it, then during the retrograde is when that's going to be revealed. So it's not like it's an out of the blue thing. It's kind of like, wow, this has been on the verge of broken for this whole time, and during Mercury retrograde is when that's revealed. Okay, so you know, it can happen with the ways you communicate as well. I remember years and years ago when I just had a few hundred people on my newsletter list, and I was sending emails via Gmail, like not like a real email system, but via Gmail. This is a long time ago. And I remember it was during a Mercury retrograde. I was sending out an email, and I discovered that my emails were only getting sent to 25 people at a time, and I was sending them to a few hundred people. And it's one of those things that I realized during Mercury retrograde. See, RE, realize is an RE word. I realized it during Mercury retrograde, but it was something that was broken the whole time. And I had another thing happen to me years later, again, still years ago, but like where a different email situation, I did finally have like a proper email delivery service for my newsletters. But when people forwarded my emails and other people signed up for my newsletter, their names would get mismatched, and like one person would disappear. And I discovered that during Mercury retrograde. Now, it's frustrating when it happens. You're like, why is this happening to me? The universe hates me in this moment. But really what's happening is the universe is protecting you, because you're discovering something that was broken. Right? In that case, it was a system, a form of communication, and it gave me a chance to repair, revise, fix it, so that moving forward, I wouldn't be losing people on my newsletter. So you see, in those situations, it's really like the trickster energy trying to help you. There's other situations, like let's say you are like writing a book or a newsletter or whatever, and this has happened to me before, a blog post where I've been writing and like everything in my energy is telling me to stop. It's like I'm exhausted, I'm not thinking straight anymore, and I keep pushing through. It's like I keep wanting, no, I just want to finish it. No, I just want to get it done. And all of a sudden, like it just disappears into cyberspace, gone forever. That's a Mercury retrograde thing too. Why is that? That's because I'm pushing ahead, right? So if you're pushing, if you're forcing things that shouldn't be forced, if you're trying to do things that the universe is telling you, like, stop, this is not the time to move ahead, this is the time to go back. This is the time to review things, this is the time to look over what you already have. That's when the trickster energy happens. So just remember, when that happens, when all those like annoying things happen, like your flight gets delayed during Mercury retrograde. This is another thing. It's okay to travel during Mercury retrograde. Just make sure you have very flexible plans. Like leave some space. Not just with traveling, like with anything you have planned, leave a lot of space during Mercury retrograde, because first of all, your energy is going to be different, because during retrograde, your energy is more inward than outward, and it's not a moving forward energy. So you want to have like that flexibility. So in all of your events that you have during Mercury retrograde. So just remember that, be flexible. So I have some suggestions of what to do during Mercury retrograde. So one thing we talked about was being flexible. Please be flexible, right? The other thing, very helpful, is to practice being present. So it's that like rushing ahead energy that gets us in trouble and creates that trickster. So this is such a wonderful time for you to collect yourself, for you to go back in and gather your thoughts and your feelings that you have overlooked during the other times of the year when you're just racing ahead. So this is a time to really catch up and know what you're thinking and feeling, and collecting those pieces of information that are very, very important for you moving forward. I see so often people are like walking their dogs and they're like looking at their phone while they're walking the dogs, or they're driving and they're looking at the phone. It's like, stop looking at your phone, unless you're watching this video, which I hope is helpful. But in general, it's like, put it down. Be here in your life, be present, be with your dog, be present while you're driving, be present with yourself and the people in your life. And instead of thinking about what you're doing next, or trying to do more, be here and notice what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're observing. So really, another way to do this is to really take more time to meditate and or write during Mercury retrograde, because that's going to help you catch up with yourself and really connect with what you're thinking and feeling. You might not realize it, but you might be on autopilot sometimes, So also, I didn't say this before, but it's not as good to launch new things or try new projects during Mercury retrograde, but you can launch something or that you've already shared with the world before. It's a great time to redo something. So another thing that's absolutely essential to remember during Mercury retrograde is to have a sense of humor. Life is hilarious. The universe is hilarious. And if you remember in those times that things are going wrong, that really in the grand scheme of things, this is here to help you, and don't take yourself or life so seriously. The more you lighten up and have a sense of humor, really that's what the trickster energy is helping you do. Lighten up. Laugh. When you're so stressed and you're like furrowing your brow and like freaking out, just laugh. See what happens. It'll change your body chemistry. So see, that just made me laugh even just thinking about it. Now, what's essential during Mercury retrograde is all the RE words. So reflect, renew, revise, repair, regenerate, recreate, relieve tension by having a massage, release negative thoughts. It's a great time for anything RE. So anything RE you can think of. So those piles of paper that you've been meaning to review, it's a great time to review those. Things that have been sitting there that you've been meaning to repair, it's a great time to do those. You know, it's also good to revise your work or revise your website or revise writing that you've been having, that you, instead of like, let's say you're writing something and instead of writing more chapters, it's good to go back and edit it. So anything RE, all this going back stuff is what this time is really essential for. And it's also a wonderful time for healing, reprogramming your subconscious mind, anything having to do with healing, letting go of the past, reviewing the past so that you can revise and revision the past so you can create your future. So all of that it's so productive during this time. So if you really know and you put it on your calendar, okay, during Mercury retrograde, I have it planned that I'm going to take more time to myself and take care of all those things that I've been meaning to take care of. I'm not going to push myself. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm going to reflect and renew and rejuvenate my energy and release what isn't serving me. It is a magical time. Now, there's one thing I didn't cover talking about today, that is your specific numerology for Mercury retrograde. And I have created a whole guide for you, which you can get for free using the link below. So if you want to know more about Mercury retrograde, specifically for your numerology, it is so helpful when you know that. And you can get that information for free using the link below. And it is so much fun once you realize how accurate and specific the universe is and how nothing's random. So I encourage you to download that link, that free numerology guide to Mercury retrograde. It's really fun and really informative. So I hope this has helped you have fun and make the most of this magical time that we call Mercury retrograde. So if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to share it with your friends, like and subscribe it. And I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment below about how you manifest during Mercury retrograde. It's an incredible time. So thanks again, and I have much more to share with you, so stay tuned and I will talk to you soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.